Hot Mics with Billy Bush. Great title. You know it. And welcome to Hot Mics. Billy Bush here on TuneIn and YouTube. I'm with the man that I have spent a lot of time with in the last couple of months. Keith Crossley is a spiritual teacher, transformation coach, speaker who helps people break free from their pain, patterns, and past, but most importantly, mine. Okay? I've been very honest about the things that I've been facing and what I'm trying to break free of, which I don't really know. But I am 54 years old and a work in progress. Keith is here. He's in person. He's in town. So I got him right in front of me. He's very skinny too. He's very.
I got to
fit.
tell you, you've been telling me for weeks how handsome you are, but in person you did not do yourself justice.
I don't think so. The hairline is really,
it's
unfair.
Justice.
By the way, your wife is right here, Rhiannon. She's just about three. I can hear. I'm touching her hand right now. Let me see. There she is. Welcome, Rhi. As Stevie Nicks said, from Fleetwood Mac, right? She was a Welsh witch, but
it's very accurate. Very accurate.
You married a Welsh witch.
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Keith. Okay, Keith is the author of a book that I have given to every one of my children because it's so important. I wish someone handed me this book when I was in my 20s, although Keith probably wasn't alive then. So here it is, State Within Light, which is kind of a way of saying enlightenment. It is the path to enlightenment. Anyway, it really is the answer. What Keith addresses, and I just think the more people understand this, the better off you'll be. And that is that you said something so blunt and straightforward that the ego is really just the voice in your head. Raise your hand, class, if you can relate to the toxic voice in your head, that negative voice that says, not good enough, can't do it, this happens, that happens. All of that is your ego insulating you from possibility, from things that could be good, because it thinks it's doing you a service, right? Mm-hmm. Protecting you from what could happen again. And I have to tell you, I mean, I think that's everybody in the world, and you must have such joy in life explaining this to people.
Nothing gives me more personal joy than seeing a human being transcend their own ego and really target suffering at its true, origination point. We always think it's our situations or our circumstances, and we're not recognizing that's really the voice in our head that's interpreting all of those situations a certain way. And so once you understand that you're the arbiter of the filter you have of your mind, you're the one creating your experience of reality. And so that's true empowerment, is when you finally realize it's not everything out there that's causing your pain. It's the voice in your head reacting to what's going on in your external environment.
We're all prisoners of ourselves. Really, the only thing standing in our way is ourselves.
100%. So if you think about what the brain's primary function is, the brain cares first and foremost about physical survival. But the ego's primary role is to protect against mental and emotional pain. So a lot of people think of ego as, he's got a big ego. Well, ask yourself, why does he have a big ego? It's because beneath all that bravado, there's someone who has deep-seated fears and insecurities who needs to compensate.
Yep.
So if we talk about like a narcissist is what we associate with being, really egoic. But a narcissist are some of the most insecure people there are. So we need to reframe the ego. The voice in our head is really meant to try to protect us from mental and emotional pain. But the problem with how it goes about doing that is it's through fear and worry and control. And so we often experience a microdose of all of those things all day, every day, because we're so afraid of what's going to happen in our environment. So in its attempt to protect us, it's actually making us suffer constantly.
You and I spoke. I got introduced to you on the back side of my second psilocybin journey.
Yes, you did.
And the first journey, the guy that introduced us as a friend, Adam, I got into a long conversation with him, and I told him, he led me to the psilocybin journey, which I did, and it was poop and rainbows, I say. I mean, it was like, so much love and compassion for those who injured me in life. Once when I was a little boy at 8 years old, Later in 2016, when I was fired from NBC and just globally, like, crushed in comment sections all the way to Shanghai, it's just, that's how we met. The first journey was great. Second journey, I was on a high after the first, so forget that. I don't know why I went in and messed with myself and we did a second one, but that was a completely different experience.
You flew too close to the sun, my friend.
I wanted more of that incredible feeling I had, and I did the second journey, and I was in the fetal position. Now, Keith, I have to be honest with you, I still don't know. Is it because I actually had to take a leak? Out of the 5-hour experience, 3 hours I had to take a leak so badly, and I didn't know, like what an idiot I am. Like, just get up and take a leak, guy. Am I breaking protocol here? I'm not supposed to get up. Maybe like the experience, you're supposed to be through everything. He didn't say anything about that. So I kind of laid there in physical pain because I had to pee so badly. And I'm not sure if that manifested or then transferred over to emotional pain, if it was a symbol, if they're connected. I don't know. It might be that simple, but I have a feeling it's probably more. And we got to something deeper. Trauma from some point in my past, and things shut down. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to go there, wasn't ready to go there, I don't know. And I've heard people have this experience, and they do break through. I didn't. I kind of ended in a dull, anxious pain.
Yeah.
And what was the ego doing something? Is the ego very much alive in a moment like this?
If you think about it like this, the closer you get to a core emotional wound, and that could be a genuine trauma or something that's really significant to you from childhood or an event in your life, and the closer you get to unearthing what has been buried in your subconscious, likely for years if not decades, the more the ego is going to throw everything at the kitchen sink at you to prevent you from going there. So if you think about, you got anxiety, right? You could sense that there was something in the shadows that you needed to look at, and you started to feel really, really anxious. Well, that's one of the number one ego protections is anxiety. Because if it can keep you stuck in anxiety, it's preventing you from going deeper into feelings that the anxiety is covering or protecting you from. So anxiety is always a sign of something underneath that you are afraid to face or to feel. So in some ways, I view your experience almost as like a teaser where it was saying, hey, there's likely something lurking in your subconscious that you haven't looked at, and you need to look at it, but maybe you're not ready just yet, but keep going.
And that's the hard part. I can see a lot of people. I mean, the first psilocybin journey was September 11th. The second one was October 11th. They said at least a month needs to go by. It was exactly a month. I was like, okay, here I am. I'm back. And I literally went across the country for this. And got my ass kicked. Just got my teeth kicked in, so much pain. And then I started talking to you shortly after, and okay, so that's like basically 3 months ago. And the guy that I did the journey with is like, are you coming back? I think you're close to breaking. I'm like, not yet. But I've sort of settled on something softer, an MDMA journey, right? Mm-hmm. And MDMA was... The government was just about to make this a legal therapeutic, a legal therapy for depression, anxiety in the mental health industry. It was about to be, something happened in the clinical trial with one person, and the whole thing fell off the FDA, and it's not legal. But it was the closest of any of them. Why MDMA? What's different about MDMA than psilocybin that you know of?
So in the studies, what they used it specifically for is PTSD, so people with real trauma. So we're talking war veterans, rape victims, people that have witnessed murders. I mean, really intense stuff. And the hard part about processing those kind of traumas is that even if you can allow your mind to go there, the body and the nervous system are going to freak out. And so it's very difficult to actually process the emotions associated with the trauma because your physical response is so intense. So the beauty of something like MDMA is you can give it to someone, and the street name for MDMA is ecstasy. It's a great name. It puts you in a euphoric, blissful state. So the person's physiologically now feeling chemically very, very good. And so it tamps down that nervous system response so that they can actually come forward and talk about these traumas without being completely triggered or wanting to run away from it. So think of it like you're bringing bliss and euphoria to the most painful, difficult experiences of your life and blending the two to allow you to move through it in a much more pleasant way. Whereas some of these other substances like psilocybin or ayahuasca, the other ones that you hear about, they can be really intense. Whereas with MDMA, it's going to tamp that weight out.
It's a roulette wheel, psilocybin, right? Like I experienced both sides of the roulette wheel in 2 spins.
You did, but what I would also say is that roulette wheel is often not, something didn't go wrong there. In other words, a so-called dark journey or a bad trip that people talk about, more often than not is the result of them pulling back in the experience instead of surrendering and allowing the medicine to take them through the full process. So it starts to get dark, it starts to get heavy, it starts to get scary. And if you pull back at that moment, you get stuck at that point, and you go, I never want to do that again.
That's what happened to me.
But you're almost always on the cusp of a real breakthrough if you will sit through that discomfort and continue to allow the process to work through you.
I sort of feel like playing it back physiologically right now. I can almost like feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel like where I was in that moment, and things started to get uncomfortable, and I had to go to the bathroom. I did have to pee, and I could see myself, no, just like, don't get out of here, get out of here. And I'm wondering, like, if I had just peed and said, listen, guy, help me, walk me to the bathroom here and stand outside the door. And then I go, and then I come back and had just said, okay, come on. I don't know where I wonder where it would have gone. I do wonder where it would have gone. And maybe...
can I give you
but it doesn't mean it's totally negative that it was bad, because it did say, at least bring awareness to the fact that you needed to go through.
And I would argue that in the weeks since that journey, there have also been some really positive changes that you have made and patterns you've begun to break already. So even though that in isolation, that experience may have been somewhat hellish or difficult for you, in the aftermath, if you look at the outcome, there have been a lot of positive things that came even from it.
But also some negative. I mean, I think
Yes.
negative. I started drinking more.
Yeah.
I think I got I had to increase my numbing.
Yeah.
I found on my own, just December 22nd, I said, wait a minute, I'm drinking way too much. This is like, what am I doing? And I stopped. And I plan on staying stopped because I desperately want the clarity in my life.
But think of it this way, Billy. Whenever everybody wants to talk about, let's get healing. Healing sounds great as a concept. But when you're in the thick of it, what it's doing is stirring up the most painful things that you have suppressed or pushed away for years. So the healing process itself is incredibly messy, and incredibly volatile and destabilizing. And so when all of these emotions that you've been suppressing start to come up to the surface, most people are going to want to distract or numb, push it back down, ignore it. So I'm not surprised in the aftermath that you felt like you wanted to do it or needed to do it. If anything, it's a sign that you're getting close to root issues.
Why is that? Like, I wonder why that, is it all ego? Does it all have to do, but it's interesting. People hear the word ego, they just think, some cocky asshole with, who thinks he's the shit.
Yeah.
It's really not even close. It's that fearful, negative, sad little frightened voice in your head that constantly pesters you.
So the core fear of the ego is the fear of not being enough, which is the universal human fear, by the way. And we all deal with it in different ways. You can either go out into the world and you're trying to prove to yourself and everybody else that you're good enough. Mm-hmm. So we do that through success and accomplishments and beauty, intelligence, your brand of whatever you think is going to help you get a leg up in the world. And if I can just become this person or accomplish this, then finally I'm going to feel like I'm enough. And most people get into their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even if you've been successful, you all of a sudden wake up one day and you're like, why is it still not enough? The other half of the population is so afraid of trying, and they will just accept that they are not enough, which is why you see so many people with low self-esteem and low self-worth.
Yeah.
Is at the core, their egoic belief, their identity, their literal self-identity is I am not enough. So the ego, what it's doing is self-sabotaging all these parts of your life, which sounds, it's as a protection mechanism. So to give you an example, true love is one of the most triggering things there is because it requires a high degree of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
So what the ego will do is the closer you get to true vulnerability and the very connection that you are craving at a deep level, it will start to self-sabotage the relationship in order to keep a safe level of distance so you don't get hurt. So the ego is simply, it's almost like its own worst enemy.
What if you're in a relationship and you know that person is solid as can be and they're not going anywhere? And you still can, talk yourself out of intimacy and closeness with that person, even though 100% know this person is like, they're more in it than I am.
The reason why even that is not enough is until your individual wound is healed, your partner will be a mirror or a reflection of your insecurities and your fears. So the closer you get to them, the more your fear of what if they don't think I'm enough, or oh my gosh, I'm at risk of really getting my heart broken here because they have the power to hurt me. So until the individual wound is healed, your partner will always keep re-triggering it within you over and over again, and you will resort to your self-sabotaging patterns as a protection mechanism.
So how do you heal a deep traumatic wound, say, from childhood?
Yeah.
I mean, what if like I personally know of one event, but there's a bunch of other events throughout life. I don't know if the event from 8 years old is
tied,
still doing, wreaking havoc on me at 54 and it's unaddressed. I've talked about it with therapists. I've done, maybe not all the way through every angle, every detail, but, how much power can that, if it is in fact that, I got to get it out, I got to get it over because I don't want to be a 60-year-old single guy, dating 40-year-old women or 35-year-old women and, because I'm relentlessly handsome and have great hair and the whole thing. I mean, let's be honest. But
well said.
Yeah, I had to get it up. No, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. So the way to think about it is most adults are just children in adult bodies, meaning that most of our wounding comes from childhood well before we had the maturity to know how to put everything into context. So most people are operating from this unconscious blueprint, not realizing that it came from 10, 20, 30, 40 years back. So to give you an idea, I've got a client right now, ultra successful, and he is obsessed with money, success, buying things. And when we dig down to figure out where this kind of blueprint comes from, at a very young age, his dad told him that if he wanted something, he'd have to go earn it. So he went out the very next week and got 22 jobs doing landscaping. So the first week he earned $400 and went and bought the exact bike that he wanted. So when he brought the bike home, his dad said, "Wow, son, I am so proud of you."
Dopamine, boom, there it is.
Which feels like an innocuous comment and maybe even reinforcing hard work. But his 10-year-old brain went, "Oh, this is how I get love and acceptance," which also means I now know the blueprint of how to avoid rejection or pain or potential abandonment. So that blueprint is the same one he is playing into adulthood, constantly seeking validation through accomplishments, success, and material wealth.
Literally, it could be an event from your childhood.
Correct.
Here I have a significant one as an 8-year-old, but it could be something at 11 that was like a little,
Yes.
right? Like you got rejected from a baseball team or something that, and it just, you're not good enough, whatever. It could be, the MDMA journey that I'm about to do, you say it tamps down the ego. would something like that, is it possible that it could lead you in that experience to whatever it is?
Absolutely. So whenever the ego is tamped down, what you're also saying is that you're getting access to the subconscious mind. So I think of ego as the barrier between conscious and subconscious mind. And most of what truly ails most human beings is not what is in the conscious mind, is what's been obscured from them by the ego. So I'm of the opinion that most people are reasonably smart. And if figuring these things out was simply a matter of going into the mind and putting a bunch of puzzle pieces together, and all of a sudden you go, oh, now I know what it is, everybody would change and be healed. And it suggests to me that where the real problem lies and the real work lies is figuring out what is buried beneath in the subconscious. So a substance like MDMA and others are helping you to remove that barrier or tamp down that barrier and allow what's been hiding in the shadows to bubble up to the surface. So you might, in your experience, you might have memories come up that you haven't even thought about or didn't even know that you remembered. Or it could be a completely new slant
and they come out because the ego is relaxed or taking a nap?
Correct.
So we're putting the ego to sleep here.
Correct.
And we're and see it's been whole. So maybe the ego has a grip on certain experiences that it's just not letting to the foreground, and then
correct. Because what the ego does is when things get too painful and it doesn't want to face reality, it's going to bury or hide it in the subconscious. So that's a way where it can avoid the pain and the feelings that it's terrified to actually feel. So if you think about what ails most human beings without them realizing it, is from a young age, we start to learn what mental and emotional pain feels like. And that could be in small ways like getting picked on at school. It could be called stupid in kindergarten. It could even be something as benign as being a kindergartner who gets dropped off and feels abandoned by their parents. So every person's version is a little bit different, and it doesn't have to be related to extreme trauma. So what ends up happening is we go, ooh, pain, I do not like the way this feels.
Yeah.
So the ego jumps in and says, well, how do we minimize this pain? How do we avoid this pain? So if you think of a range of human emotion, over here you've got the most negative emotions we can feel. Abandonment, rejection, heartache, grief, loss, the most painful things. And over here you've got joy and bliss and love and connection, all the things that we want. What the ego starts to do is it starts to say, I don't want to feel pain. So it starts to move your spectrum of feeling in to protect you. But unconsciously, we can't just hedge against the negative emotions. What the ego is also going to do is say, well, we can't allow ourselves to be too happy because this may not last.
Yeah.
I can't allow myself to fall in love because they could break my heart. So now you're moving the spectrum and you're living in a narrow range of human emotion, and then you wonder why you don't feel very alive. And it's because you're so afraid of this spectrum of feelings that you're living in kind of a dulled state. So if you think about what the healing process is really doing, it's saying, let's go back into the past and figure out what you ran away from that you should have felt. So now we're going to identify what that is. We're going to face that feeling head on and allow ourselves to feel our way through the pain. So the way that the brain and body process pain is through emotion. So now I'm basically processing the emotions that got stuck way back when. And that's how we come back to a sense of wholeness. But if you do it properly, something much more profound should happen to you. Is that in that process of learning that it's safe to feel painful feelings, you learn a much bigger lesson. And that is that you do not need to be afraid of pain anymore. So now, when new experiences in your life come about, instead of bracing or throttling or running, you will dive headfirst into that feeling, trusting your brain and body to process it, and as a result, you do not accumulate more baggage. Now we're free because we're processing everything in real time because we're not afraid of it anymore.
How long, MDMA experiences, usually it's probably more than one. It's not a one-stop shop, I wouldn't think. Is it an ongoing therapy? Is it different for each person?
My personal opinion, that's all it is that most people would greatly benefit from somewhere between 5 and 7 journeys. Because that allows you to get the big boulders that you've been carrying around for your whole life out of the way. It's even going to let you deal with some of the medium-sized boulders. The danger is that some people, they don't get addicted to the drug itself or the medicine itself, but they get addicted to this egoic cycle of searching for a problem that requires a solution.
Right.
So the whole purpose of healing is so that you're now free to live your life.
Right.
And so you don't want to get stuck in a perpetual state of healing for, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. The whole reason you're doing this is to get back to your life.
Okay, so Keith, you and I have agreed to talk after this experience that I am going to go and have. I got to tell you, what I want to know is, for me, relationship-wise, for the last 9 years since separation, 6 years since divorce, it's been push-pull. It's been in-out. Yeah. I've had, different people. And I, one particular very close and very good, loving person, and would be by all accounts, great. And you have this like foot that's just sort of out the door a little bit, or kind of hedging, and probably break up 10, 12 times because she like get a certain, and then always come running, famous for running back, breathless, like, don't go anywhere, I'm so sorry, we'll do that, with millions of promises in order to, that has calmed down. Like that's no longer there, but still the push-pull. Yeah. And I think that's connected to something like trauma that's...
Yeah. So think about it this way. Where most people stop too short of full healing is they identify the symptom of the problem. Okay, so in your case, maybe it's a pattern of anxious avoidant is a label that's thrown around a lot, or disorganized avoidant, or, I have OCD, I have anxiety.
I check every symptom for that, by the way. You want to pull that up on ChatGPT? It's a yes on every one of them, and I'll admit that.
Okay, so,
not good.
But the key is to recognize that that's all it is. It's the symptom. It is the protective mechanism you have put in place to guard against something beneath the surface. So to give you an example, one of the most likely things that's beneath the surface is a deep-seated fear of abandonment, okay? So if someone has a deep-seated fear of abandonment, the trigger for them is not abandonment. The trigger is connection. Because the closer they get to someone, the more it's going to trigger their fear that they are going to be abandoned.
What could go wrong.
Correct.
Not what could go right.
Right. So if you map out that person's cycle, they get close to somebody and they go, oh, this feels so great. I finally am like feeling the love that I've been wanting. And all of a sudden the ego goes, oh, you are really vulnerable. You could get really devastated right now.
There it is.
So the ego starts creating stories, and it could be, maybe I'm not in love with this person. Or it could be picking fights over stupid stuff to create distance in the relationship.
You find, I can find them too.
Correct.
I can find them so conveniently.
Correct.
Until I completely forget about them and come breathlessly running back, and they say, well, what about this that you said to me? Forget about that. I was a crazy man. I don't know what I was talking about.
Correct. But let's play the cycle out to its conclusion. So the ego starts creeping in, self-sabotaging the relationship to get enough distance for you to start to feel safe again.
Yes.
And then you go, oh, thank goodness I'm safe. But then immediately you go, oh, shoot, I just pushed away the person that I really, really loved and damaged this relationship. So now you're actually at risk of abandonment because you just created it. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So then you scramble and go, please, no, I didn't mean it. I shouldn't have said that to you. I didn't, right? You scramble to get it back. And that person's going to be distant initially and be like, but you just hurt me. So you keep trying harder, and then they finally let you back in. And then what happens is you go, oh, yeah. It feels so good to be back in the loving arms again. And as soon as that process is over, guess what happens? Oh, shoot, I'm vulnerable again. Whoop, and we're going to repeat the cycle.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, so we are going to have a discussion on the other side. And if you're, could be in person, it might be Zoom, whenever I come up for air. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do an MDMA experience here and see if we can't get to that layer.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Very nervous, but committed, because it matters for sure. Let me just say this: we're going to take a break here and for one of our sponsors here in a second. On the other side of the break, this is a taped episode, will be another discussion after the MDMA experience. So you are just a short second or two away from what happened in that experience and what we uncovered. But before we do that, I want to say, understand the ego. You've learned about the ego right here a bit, and I bet you're very curious. This book is fantastic. Keith wrote it, State Within Light. I can't recommend it high enough. Every one of my daughters has it. I wish someone handed it to me in my 20s. So, Keith, as they say, see you on the other side.
See you on the other side.
But first, our sponsor, PrizePicks, is the best place to win money watching any sport. And now that football's gone, hello, hockey. The app is quick and easy. All you got to do is pick more or less on a few player stats. You win up to you can get 2,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Right now, PrizePicks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. You just use the promo code HOTMICS, okay? Well, it is exactly 48 hours from that first conversation with Keith Crossley. Now, 24 hours ago, yesterday, at 8:30 in the morning, I embarked on an MDMA journey in a safe and therapeutic environment. To be clear, I wasn't partying. It wasn't a rave. I don't party at 8:30 in the morning, even at my worst. But I asked Keith Crossley to come back and sidecar with me right now because, while not as a practitioner, he's got a lot of experience with integration from experiences exactly like this. So I did. Hi, Keith. There we are. Look at me.
Here we are.
Do I look totally different?
Changed man.
Do I look enlightened? Well, might be. So, look, I set an intention for this experience. And here it is specifically. Why do I keep self-sabotaging and reverting to patterns that hold me back, nay, hold me down? Can you relate to this? You know, things are going great. Let's say, for example, in my life, things are going great. I've stayed in, 3 nights in a row. It's Thursday, and I have a big interview the next day. Even though I know I shouldn't, in fact, the little voice inside my head, says, stay put on the couch, don't go anywhere, stay home, read a book, chill out. I call a friend and go out and drink a couple of martinis. And the interview the next day doesn't go so great. It's okay because I can always stitch something together. But why did I sabotage myself from being the best, the sharpest, most verbally dexterous, engaged version of myself? Why? My ego. That's not the bravado ego, the look, I'm the man, I'm so good at this, I'm so good at that. It's not that part. The ego is that voice in the head that wants to keep telling you those same old stories in your life and hold you back. So Keith is here. Let me just say this. People, who listen regularly to this show know that I have been interested in psychedelic therapy, and I did a psilocybin journey. I did 2 of them. The first one, as I say, is called Poop and Rainbows. Everything was beautiful. Everybody I saw in my life, from my kids to my ex to my current girlfriend to, a past girlfriend to everything, was just, even people who harmed me in life, everything was kind of compassion, and it was sweet. I tempted fate and went in a month later and did psilocybin journey number 2 and ran into a tremendous wall. I was locked in a state of anxiety. It was pretty okay for an hour, and then by maybe the second hour, although I wasn't really keeping track of time, this heavy anxiety came up within me, and I never could get through it. I've heard of people having, these heavy anxiety moments, and eventually it releases and they work through. I left with that heaviness. And boy, it really, looking back on it, that was October 11th. In the next 2 months, I kind of drank more. I had some things that were, I guess, good, standing up for myself in certain areas, but I kind of acted out, the old version of me. Too many cocktails, flirting and just living out of alignment, I guess, is what it would be. I kind of went back in, and I was hoping and I was fearing that anxiety, that hot ball of anxiety, it was there, and I knew it was there, and I was wondering if I'd encounter it again, and I was fearful as can be that the same thing would happen again, and I would thus be stuck with this heaviness for the rest of my life. I could never get it through. I'm proud to say, in this therapeutic environment, in this whole thing, I got through it. And boy, was it unbelievable. It came as the MDMA sort of, set in. It came. I started feeling that anxiety. I knew it was there, and it knew I was there, and it started to come up. Even though they say MDMA is a lot gentler and smoother and easier and less, aggressive on the nervous system than psilocybin, it's still, this was a score that had to be settled, and it came up. And the facilitator said to me, I was like, I'm going to verbalize it. I'm not keeping this in, even though I kind of just I could just stay quiet about it and have this conversation in my head and try to work it out. And I just said, I feel this anxiousness coming up again. It's there. And the facilitator said, okay, can we do an exercise? I said, yeah, sure, anything. He said, go to this. Where's your happiest place, like in life? I said, Maine. I'm spending my summers in Maine, and that's my spot. All right, go there. All right, I'm standing on the dock. It's a beautiful day. I'm about to get in the boat. The wind is going to go through my hair, the cold water, all the things. But yet it wasn't like, taking me away to my happy place. It was like, okay, that's the happy place. I know, but the anxiety's still there. Fine, just stick with the happy place, 60 seconds or so. And then we turned, and the facilitator said, okay, where is the anxiety? Where is the heaviness? I said, it's in my chest. It's in my chest. It's hot. It's getting hotter. It's in the bottom of my neck. It's in there. It's okay, just stay with it. Just stay with it. And then kind of stopped talking. And I stayed with it. And it built and it built. But I realized that we had invited this in and leaned into it, and it built and it built, and it got hot and uncomfortable, and then it turned, and it released, a slow release, and it was like, it was like a kidney stone passing through, right? Maybe exactly like that, like really painful, and then it released. And then a little while later, there was like a second wave, but it was a medium, right? And I sort of remembered what I had been told, and I did it, same exercise, myself. And then there was a third, really small one. And of course, same steps, and then it all released. And physiologically, I can't tell you what a wonderful feeling that is. And I'm sure it's even deeper than that. There's it's not just symbolic, but it is a bunch of heaviness that we all carry leaving. But now, Keith Crossley, who is here, and by the way, I'm going to plug his book a few times because it's important that you get this. I mean that. And it's called State Within Light, The Path to Enlightenment. And this is written by Keith from his own experience. And boy, it is helpful, because this deals with the whole MDMA experience is tamping down the ego so it's out of your way. That voice that is holding you back and telling you the same old stories, it's out of your way. And we set an intention. I set an intention for this thing, and it was to understand the self-sabotaging in my life. And boy, it worked. And when I talk about that voice that just kind of like tries to take me back to that place that no longer served me. I've been honest with you people about, like, when I got fired from NBC and the whole Trump bus tape thing and whatever, I was charming, fun Billy for the longest time. They hired me to be the host of the third hour at the Today Show, and I was going to be that fun, charming Regis 2.0 guy, and great. And then it all fell apart. It blew up. Tape gets leaked, whatever, and I blow up. But for 3 years, I didn't work. From 2016 to 2019, I didn't work because I could have pivoted and started hot mics then. But I was like waiting for them to come back and say, charming, fun Billy, oh, hey, that was just a quick thing. You're back. We got you back in the game. Oh, thanks. I didn't rely on what I know I have inside of me. I was waiting for the validation for others to come get me and, put the fun guy back in his chair. And it didn't happen, and it didn't happen. And I think the reason it didn't happen is because this was like, the depth in me and the depth that you have in you was what needed to be the second chapter. The real you, the authentic you needed to take over. The whole fun little, that act was serviced you all the way, but this is where life needs to go now, and you got to learn how to lean into that. And I think the reason I haven't is, there's so many reasons for it, but I think it goes back to not being a great student when I was young, and I had ADHD and it wasn't treated, and I fell back in class, and I never felt smart enough. I never felt like I was always a C minus, C student. I barely cleared the bar, and yet I was fun and I was funny and I acted out and I got in a lot of trouble. I got suspended from every school I went to because I was acting out all the time, and I happened to be a very good athlete, so at least I was popular and funny and all those things. And those kept me afloat, and if not with the pack, ahead of the pack, but not for reasons I could be really, I wanted, which was that I was smart and intelligent and a person of depth. And so that's kind of been the thing. I thought it might be a childhood experience of going through something when I was young. I've never shared this, but, I was molested at a young age. A lot of people were, not devastatingly, but certainly enough to fuck up an 8-year-old's head. Then fired from NBC, and my whole life fell apart. My marriage fell apart. I mean, a lot of stuff. We all have stuff. I'm not extraordinary. My circumstances are unique, but I'm not extraordinary. We all have something that we have to get through, go through, whatever. And I kept relying on the same shit. I didn't get to what that is. And I think this revealed to me that I need to live in alignment. I think about my father, especially. He came up in there. My father taught me about the compass. When I was a kid, you have a compass inside of your heart, right? And it points you in the right direction, the direction you should be heading. And if you get off course and start doing the wrong things, you're sleeping around, you're drinking too much, you're whatever, you're getting loose with your life, whatever, there's a voice, right? It's the compass. The Mormons call it the small, still voice that says no. And yet you get to a place where you can overwhelm it. You can say, I hear you, I understand, but I'm going to fucking do it anyway. And you go out and you have a couple drinks and you're that guy again. And you understand what I'm saying, right? And you're just out of alignment. And when does life get really good, right? Life's okay. Life's been good. I've launched my this is going very well. This is all good. But I think to get to where you're really happy and really successful and really kicking it, it's about alignment. Are you living in alignment with your values? And what your values don't have to be, the same values as everyone else. But they got to work for you. That feeling you get, that voice you hear when you open the porn app, because you need to get one out, if you know what I'm saying. And you're like, hey, I don't feel good when I do this. Oh, shit, I hate doing this, but fuck it. I'm going to do it anyway. That's out of alignment. And you know it. But you do it, and because you've done it so many times, you can quickly recover from it, wipe it away from your mind, and move on. So what I got out of this experience is don't do it. And by the way, it's waiting. It's waiting. This is a big revelation for me. This is big, but it's waiting. the ego is sitting there with its evil henchman in a place, and it's saying, okay, whoa, the Bushman really had a revelation here. Let's give him some time, boys. Let's give him a couple weeks. He's on a roll. Don't fuck with him now. But, Super Bowl's coming up, the end of the month, whatever. The voice will come back, and it'll that instinct will say, come on, don't listen to the compass. Over, let's go out. Let's go back and be the old guy. And you just gotta. Is it meditation that's part of your practice? What is it? I don't know, but you gotta build a practice and be aware of it. And this is it. This is the moment. I'm 54 years old. I'm sharing all this with you because I know you're probably experiencing something like it, or you're in love with somebody, in love with somebody who might be, right? And it's making you struggle. Anyway, Keith, I have vomited all over this microphone. And
it was beautiful. I teared up a couple times. I teared up because it's genuine and it's a real experience for you.
Yeah.
Breakthrough.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen this, right? You've seen this with people, and they've gone. What pops up for you?
I think I'm curious to hear what was the experience like for you to have your ego tamped way down, and what did it tell you about what was underneath the ego and all the noise in your mind?
Yeah, I think that promise was delivered upon. Like, the ego is so busy in our heads, right? You think of MDMA, it's called ecstasy. And you think of going to a rave or a concert and partying. But it's not, I mean, okay, you can, because it does have a euphoric nature to it. But really, I'll never use it, I don't think, at a concert or a party. I have too much respect for it. Like, it's not, I will use it to stay in alignment in my life. As a therapeutic tool, the ego comes down. You make sense of things that you might have talked yourself out of before. There's a lot of like, oh, I see. Oh, shit. Dad always talked about the compass, and I was like, okay, yeah, I get that in theory. But I can't believe, wow, this is like totally central to my life. Like, he wasn't just giving a tip. He wasn't like, hey, son, let me put my arm around you and tell you about No, he was giving me the Holy Grail, to my life. This is what living in alignment is, where the joy is and where the peace is, if you want to live a peaceful life.
A lot of people would look at you and go, here's a guy who's been successful in so many ways. He's charming, he's handsome, he's likable, he's accomplished all these things. And one of the surprising things, certainly to me as you and I have talked, was that all of this self-sabotage that you described was protecting you from something that would not seem very obvious. What's it been protecting you from?
Success. It's been protecting me from, it's a fear of failure, but of actually reaching my full potential.
Yeah.
I think is a big one. Almost like, no, you're going to stay the kid in the class that was kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why, but I think the ego thinks it's doing right by you.
Yeah.
Right? It's saying, hey, don't put yourself out there so much. Buddy, you've been through a lot. Shit, you've been through that whole NBC thing, and remember with the thing as a kid and all that other stuff. Whoa. You don't want to get hurt again. Just stay in the safe space. And it thinks it's doing, helping you out.
Keeping you safe.
Keeping you safe. And it's not. It's keeping you sad. It's keeping you held back. It's keeping you down. And when that comes down, you get to see, you see the way out. The ego being tamping down. It's like, it's like you can see it. Like, don't do this to me. I'm here. Shoo. And then your head comes up above, and now you can see clearly.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a tall hedge trying to obscure your vision, and now you can see clearly. And and those basic tenets. You know, I have such extra love for my dad.
Yeah. We kind of discovered that alcohol is your self-sabotage to keep you playing small from really going for your dreams and really owning what you know you can actually do. And part of the reason for that is, you know, up to now, your egoic self-identity was built around being the fun guy. And as a result, it felt incompatible to be both the fun guy and the serious guy. But yet there's a real substance and a depth to you that has always been there, even if you've not fully acknowledged it or owned it. And now I think that experience allowed you to integrate that both can coexist. There's a room and a place for smart, you know, driven, even focused Billy who really has ambitions for some really, you know, even much bigger things than you've ever done before. But because that's felt scary to integrate, because it's going to require you to step into the unknown, to go further than you even feel like you can right now. But making space for that part of you, it develops a whole new sense of self-identity.
Yeah, you know, years ago, I attended this, I'm sure you've heard of it, called the Hoffman process.
Yeah.
Right? The Hoffman process is, it's a week-long, 7-8 days long retreat. And oddly enough, I went to the Hoffman process when I was a broken son of a bitch. The day that I checked in for my 8 days was the day that Donald Trump walked into the Oval Office.
Irony.
The irony is incredibly powerful. He walked in to the Oval Office for the first day of his first term in 2017, and I walked in. We had both been on that bus, and we both had been in that experience. He did every ounce of the talking, and I was there, and I giggled, and I, you know, was Fun Billy trying to keep the ball up in the air, and it all landed on me. And I ended up in the therapy camp, and he ended up the most powerful man in the world. It is, if you look back at this, it's incredible. Like, there couldn't be a louder cry to live in alignment. I mean, it was like, look where living out of alignment got you. Literally, look where the two things are. I don't know why. I mean, he might be so far, he might be actually in alignment for what is, I don't know. I'm not going to waste a minute on that. But that was powerful. And what was even more powerful is at the end of that week, Hillary Illick was my teacher. Bless Hillary. Such a beautiful person inside and out. She said to me, from what we've learned this week, Billy, like, I remember the word, depth. That fun guy that you are and, you know, keeps the conversation going and laughs at the pussy joke. And, oh, hey, okay, let's have a cocktail. And pop-a-da-bing-pop. Okay. You actually made a lot of money doing it and all that, but where your future lies is in the depth of you. Focus there. That's it. And we hugged, and I was like, okay, great. It wasn't time, I guess, for that hot boulder to move through. You know, it had to become a hot boulder, I guess, to move through. And I see it. And I know that voice will be loud. Again, it will come. It will come for me. I know it will. It doesn't stop. The ego doesn't die. You say you have to learn to transcend
it,
not defeat it.
It's regardless of whether it's talking or not, you know who you are, and you know that compass that your dad pointed you towards is never going to steer you wrong. And I think it's easy for me to say this because I haven't lived your life, but I truly believe what happened to you 9 years ago was meant to happen to get to this version of you. Because you don't get to this version without having to go through the hell.
Right.
And discovering that you have substance and depth, and it's deep. Yeah. And the world wants to see that and needs to see that. And you are rediscovering that part of you that's been there all along. And it's beautiful.
You want to know how strong the ego is? It took 9 years. That bus was 2016. I mean, holy shit. It took 9 years. We're going in October, it'll be of this year. It'll be 10. Like, couldn't I have learned this like after 1 year? Isn't 1 year enough? But, you know, it takes as long as it takes. And that ego is tough. You know, and by the way, it's not, I mean, it didn't, again, it's not you can't kill it. It's a weed. It's there. It grows back. The ego doesn't stop. That voice in your head is always there. And I know you can relate to this because I know you hear it. So, boy, I have so many thoughts of just like building a practice, I can't unsee what I saw. I can't unfeel what I feel. And the ego can try to talk my way around it. But, let's all hold each other accountable. I'm telling you this because it's true. And I know it to be true, 100% true. So, that's it. Holding the line and, don't let yourself be talked out of it.
How did this experience compare? You've done therapy before, you've done other things. How did this compare?
Okay. I spoke to you before we started recording, so I don't want to steal your unbelievable material, but you said it, so I'm regurgitating the words of Keith. And that is like, it's, how often does someone walk out of a psychologist's office and say, oh my God, I just felt this incredible build of anxiety just well up within me. And Larry in front of me, my shrink, we moved through me, and then it built and it got hot. And it was like choking me, and then it just released. And it all went out. And I can't wait to get on Yelp and give Larry, the psychologist, the greatest review ever. Boy, would Larry love that. I'm not these people have an amazing purpose, and they have, support, and they're part of the program. Engaging one now, would be a good thing, right? To work through some of these things, if you were in my shoes, to have that support. But I'm just saying, what is going on now in our government, regarding the use of psychedelics in therapy? They're really struggling with it. Why? Because of the national ego. The national ego is saying, no, don't go there. It's too much. It's unsafe. No. Stay safe here and just do the shrink and the couch and all that. That's enough. That's what we know. Let's not go there. That's the macrocosm to all of our stories, right? And I'll tell you what, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm going to be part of it happening.
Billy.
Yeah. Steve has got a question. By the way, Steve, he's sitting in the control room right there. His mind is firing. It's going in all different directions.
True.
Get it out, Steve.
It's true. And remember, Keith can't hear me, but I think you should be specific for people listening and watching, because you've talked about psilocybin so much, and now we're talking journeys. I really get into what was the difference. Let's go with journey one, pooping, because you had two great journeys, two different things. Really, for us, different, how does it compare? What was the journey difference, Bill?
Keith, help me out with that. That's a great question, Steve. Help me out with that. I said it before. I think psilocybin is, it's a little harder. It's on the nervous system. He's asking, what's the difference with this, between, honestly, the psilocybins and the MDMA and all that,
as far as how they feel or
what they do. And the psilocybin, I think, it can go either way. It can go either way. It's also good in that it takes you to where you need to go. The famous phrase is, you don't get the journey you want, you get the journey you need. Yeah. That second psilocybin journey, be not mistaken, it's part of the process. It's the one I needed. I needed to feel that incredible heaviness and pain and anxiety that was so overbearing. Just so I needed a real smack in the face to show me, hey, dude, you got something in there that's really, you have not dealt with. And the MDMA was, okay, that was rough. MDMA is really powerful for trauma, right? It's PTSD, war veterans, people who have seen death and disaster in there with, because their ego's telling them those horrible stories of what happened in Fallujah and oh shit, and then you can just nightmares of seeing that comes down. And then it's just the feelings. The MDMA therapy, brilliant for war vets and stuff like that. And in this case, it was one of those where that did its job, but MDMA is going to be the thing that moves it through.
So you and I have worked together for a couple of months now, and your brain is sharp as anything, but it's also very busy, and you're very good at kind of going through mental gymnastics. On this experience, what did you notice about how your brain functioned? All the gymnastics, all the monkeys on bicycles riding around kind of took a seat, right? And it just kind of cleared the field. And the very simplest things that are true were left. So it was like a truth serum for you.
Yeah, I mean, I sat there. There were times where I'd be like, I'm talking, and I didn't, by the way, what was so beautiful is because of that, I didn't talk a lot. Like I wasn't, I've heard there are some people who just, right, that just chitter chatter the whole way through. And in this case, I would talk for a little while and see something that was, feel something that was true, make the connection about my father and the compass. Oh my God, that's what he was talking about. He wasn't just giving me a tip. He was telling me this is everything. This is alignment. You want to get rid of anxiety? Live in alignment. That's all. And I'd sit with that and I'd be quiet for 10 minutes.
You really felt like you discovered what presence truly means.
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
Well, that's so funny because when I did the second psilocybin journey, they were like, here, this is you had such success with the first one. Let's go to the next level. This is a tablet that really sort of centers on presence. It's the presence pill. And boy, I don't know if it was that or the other thing. Whatever I took, it backfired. It wasn't ready for it. But I was present in this MDMA experience, in this journey, in a major way. Like just, I could sit and present afterwards, present now. I mean, I'm sure that it's all still, right? You've had a serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin dump. I may be like miserable in 3 days, but I'll get through it because I know it's coming. And whatever it is, if it does, some people, it doesn't happen. But presence is all the things that I did before that kept me, it was presence I was running from. Let me get out of here. I don't want to sit on my couch. I'm not happy. Like, I'm going to go see so-and-so. I'm going to go see the boys. I'm going to go to the golf club. I'm going to sit on the patio. And now, it's the presence and the clarity that I want. I said it, on an episode ago or two. I can't remember. I'm after clarity. I'm after connection. I'm after congruence. And congruence is what's killed me in relationships is is avoiding the hard stuff, not sitting in it with someone else. And an anxious avoidant or whatever. I'll turn my attention to that next. But, you don't want to be that person that's not present. Boy, you can't feel anxiety if you're present, right? I mean, I think it exists in the future and the past. That's where it really wreaks havoc. Mm-hmm. Not in the presence, I don't know. Anyway, there you go, folks.
Bill, I got another one.
Oh, Steve's really percolating back there. Hold on.
I'm sorry. But I just know that I know from our viewers, because we've talked about this a lot, like they're going to ask and will ask and want to know, I think, like the actual day, the actual thing. So when you got done, was it get up, let's go eat, I'm hungry, guys, whatever? Was it slow? Was it all night long? Was it, let's call friends, I have someone to call?
Yeah, how did it end?
And I would also say, how did it feel? Like the experience, what does the experience feel like to you?
Okay, so some people it lasts, I guess, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. I took 120 milligrams of MDMA. Said that to my friend Harry. He goes, "What? You took a horse tranquilizer? Jesus, that's something." And I was like, "No, I mean, again, we weren't going to a concert. I was on the couch, but it probably started to kick in about 15 minutes in, but I was, which is early for most people, but maybe 45 minutes in, we got to, you could feel like, woo, you got into a second level. So in the first level, it was just good because I could have conversation with the facilitator and it was nice. And then I said, okay, hey, I feel like we just went to another place, to another level. And then there was a third level, probably 15 minutes after that. And that's where it was like, whoa. And that's where the anxiety arrived, because I was like, okay, I am really in a higher state here. Not like, like high, but also like euphoric, high level of consciousness right now. And that's where we meet the enemy. I mean, I knew it was coming. I almost willed it to come, and he showed up. And that anxiety and fear and the thing that killed me in this second journey. And that's where we met each other. And thank God this person helped me do the happy place and then do the focus, right? Does remind me, like years ago, if you have anxiety, what makes it worse and what makes it mount is your effort to get away from it, I think. And I can remember that as a younger guy. And there was a period where if you can turn and look into it, you know what I mean? You realize the fangs aren't that sharp, and it can dissipate. I've had that before.
Yeah, I think what you're really describing is that in that experience, your conscious analytical mind was able to get out of the way. And the whole reason we need to overthink in the first place, or we have anxiety, is to keep us constantly living in the mind because we're afraid of what's lurking in the subconscious. So in your experience, now all of a sudden your conscious analytical mind is out of the way. That's your egoic protector that's trying to prevent you from looking at certain things that you're afraid will be very painful or bring up a lot of very difficult emotions. So once that kind of CEO part of your brain got out of the way, it's allowing what's buried in the subconscious to start to bubble up to the surface.
Yeah.
But because you were in a peaceful, blissful state, it wasn't as scary. So it's kind of softening the experience, but in a helpful way, and allowing whatever anxiety was lurking there. And for you, it was anxiety, around, your own potential, achieving your own potential in life. For other people, that could be trauma. For other people, it could be insecurities and fears. But ultimately, if those things stay in the shadows and in the subconscious, and they're never allowed to see the light of day, and frankly, it can be hard to show them the light of day in traditional things like therapy or even psychiatry, where we're really all going into the analytical mind, trying to figure out where all the puzzle pieces fit together, thinking there's going to be this one missing piece that all of a sudden we go, that's it.
Yeah.
As if this intellectual realization is going to lead to emotional freedom. But so much of what people suffer with is buried in the subconscious, which means it's not really logical. This is emotional, and it's also in the nervous system. So your description of what you describe about really that mass almost in your chest of anxiety was a physiological set of trapped energy almost. And no amount of intellectual thinking about that was going to allow that to release. An accumulation of all of the pain and the wounds and the bad things that have happened, and the body was storing it for decades on end.
I thought what was going to be one, or like it was going to be the experience as a young boy that did it, or it was going to be the experience at NBC that did it. It was going to be, I don't know. But I was like, you know what? It's just all of it. It's just all those things. And I think more than anything, the biggest culprit, if it was the fact that, I blended into the back of the classroom, and I didn't feel smart enough, and I didn't feel strong. I later as an adult tested myself for ADD, and I'm off the charts. Everybody likes to say, oh my God, I'm so ADD. I left my phone. I literally spent thousands of dollars at UCLA, and the person said, okay, off the charts guy, like literally, wow. And I realized, like, it just trying to blend into that classroom, and here I am in life, like after NBC is a great big classroom, and I was in there but it's a high level classroom, and I was making money that was real money, right? If I'd stayed at that level of money forever, it would have been no problems, right? Ever. But I'm in there with them, and I'm like, doing fine. I'm not the Matt Lauer of the place. I'm not the Brian Williams of the place, but I'm pretty good, kind of in there. And what's called upon me is to know, you got to be the CEO of you. You got to now start your own classroom where you're the head of the class. And that requires those things, that depth, that requires focus, clarity. And the old enemy, that's a Spindrift, not an IPA, needs to be, put aside. You got to stay focused.
So where do you go from here?
I mean, you look, where do I go from here? I go one step at a time. I will use MDMA again when it's time, because I think it's great for alignment. The ego will creep back in, and I just want to, it'll be a realigning. It won't be a party. It will be for therapy, and it will be in the morning, and it will be in the right environment, and it will be after I've rested and I'm prepared for it. Set the intention, given it the respect that it deserves before it helps me. And but one step at a time. When the voice comes, be aware of the voice, and be true to myself, and listen to the compass, and build my business here that we're building, because I think it can be really wonderful. I think it can, we can have a lot of fun chit-chatting about Blake Lively and that situation and the latest case that's going on in true crime, but we can also talk about the ego and help people in their lives. So I want to build this community, and it's going to require the full me to do it.
You're ready.
Anyway.
You're ready.
Guys, the first step in all of this is to pick up Keith's book. Order this book, State Within Light. It's on the screen if you're watching. The Path to Enlightenment by Keith Crossley. It's really, he wrote it so you can easily understand it. And I could not put it down. And it's what led me to where we are. I can't thank you enough, my friend. You are A+. A+. So
love you, my man.
Order that book and see where it goes, folks. I believe your best days are in front of you. And I know what's holding you back in your own life is you're not alone. You're not extraordinary. Just your circumstances are. But everyone is with you. That is it for us. Folks, this is Hot Mics with Billy Bush, presented by LA Golf. Take your swing to the next level with LA Golf's cutting-edge technology. Visit lagolf.com, upgrade your game. You can always listen to us exclusively on TuneIn. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.